Hello, how's it going, Joe? Good morning, Mario. How's everyone getting on? Welcome back to the Game Jam series. Morning, Fern. Tired? I hear ya. I hear ya. All right, I want to get right into it. It's got a lot to do today and not too much time. So, where we left off last week, or the last stream, I should say, is we have gotten to a point where we can lay out our embroidery using this falling sand simulation. We have sand and grass and all these things, kind of particles colliding and integrating and manipulating one another. And we started creating our art direction. So we have this nice embroidered look where everything has an embroidered feel to it. Feels like it's made of thread. And today what I want to do is start on the actual integration where we can go from that 2D canvas and transition into a 3D world and walk around. So we're going to start with our handy dandy little capsule here. We have to figure out what the character looks like, but we'll be able to walk around and transition between that embroidered and 3D world. So that's the goal for today. There's a lot to do to make that work, so I want to get right into it. What do you mean by character controller? Like a sprite, we can walk, swim? Not a sprite, like a 3D character. So you're gonna actually go between, you'll be able to transition between this embroidered 2D view and actually walking around in that environment as a 3D character. So you'll be able to walk. I figure we'll probably have to figure out something to do with swim. Either you can't walk on water, like it's an obstacle, or you can swim. I think it makes more sense to be an obstacle, to be honest, but we'll have to figure that out. Henry the Potato's playing up. Sounds typical from what I understand of Henry. So the goal is our character is able, basically you'll be able to press tab, pull up your canvas, make changes to the environment using the embroidery interface, press tab again, and we're back in the game. Make sense? Also, I made some changes to hopefully reduce the lag if there is any. So we'll have to figure out how that's playing up. It looks like on Twitch there's definitely a lag. I can't see on YouTube. Yeah, it seems like maybe it didn't quite work. Anyways, let's get into it. So we set up this basic thing for a moment where we had a whole bunch of different cameras. We don't want that anymore. We just want one camera. And that camera is going to follow our player. So this is going to be our player character. Actually, let's create a parent object. Create a parent, player character. And let's set this so that the capsule is at the bottom. Something like that. And we'll parent the camera to this as well. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a top-down, semi-isometric view, something like this. We'll have to figure out what feels right there, but something like that. And then what I want to do, first of all, is be able to press tab and have our embroidery come back up, and then we can manipulate it and change things and all that. I don't know whether there's much lag or not, because either way the potato's causing the stream to freeze every minute or two because, well, he's a potato. I think there is a lag. I'm looking on Twitch here, and it looks like there's still a bit of a delay. I don't know what's going on. I have everything set to low latency mode, but for some reason there's still, something's introducing a lag, and I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so first things first, we want to press tab to bring up our embroidery. So let's do this. Where's our canvas? Our embroidery, sorry. So bring that here. I think we can get rid of all this. So when tab is pressed, well, first of all, yeah, when tab is pressed, we want to bring up the canvas so that we can kind of start creating our environment. And then we want to move the player around with like the arrow keys. Kind of how long it took for my comment to come on the stream, and it seems to be 15 seconds behind. Yikes. Yeah, it seems like a pretty extreme delay. I'm really not sure what's causing that. So this is going to be our tab button. And if it was pressed this frame, perform this frame, we're going to toggle embroidery. And for the moment, all that's going to do is disable and enable our embroidery game object. And let's get that all hooked up. Sorry, guys. I don't have my audio going to my headphones. One sec. There we go. That should fix the noises that you're hearing. Okay, so this is our embroidery toggle that's set to tab. Save that out. And yeah, so when the player presses tab, we're going to enable and disable this game object. This will be our embroidery root. So we'll do animations and all that kind of stuff later, but for the moment, let's just get this all hooked up. So it looks something like that. And we need to make sure to turn that off to start with. So when that's up, we're in simulation mode and we can manipulate the environment. And when that's down, we can walk around and explore the environment that we created. Make sense? So that comes up. And I think we're backwards here. Yep, there we go. Minus 90. Should not be static. Okey-doke. Ironically, it turned out... oh, sorry. I got the Unity error. Haha, solves my curiosity about whether WolfQuest is Unigame or not. That was a few days ago. Ironically, it turned out Avast antivirus. Yeah, sometimes the antivirus tools, for some reason, pick out games as being... I think it's because they're not signed properly. There's like a process you can go through to like authenticate your program, like your game or your app or whatever it is. And I think most people aren't doing that. So I think that's why the antivirus picks it up. But that's definitely a common thing for Unity games, or all games, I guess. Okay, so let's get this all working again. So why can I not click here? Exception of type, argument out of range. What is out of range? Oh, because we don't have our thread and needle. So we need that as well. Go to this. Let's bring these over. Let's get this all lined up. Should be 90, 0, 0, I think. Something like that. Let's move this whole thing down just a little bit so we can see it a bit better. Cool, let's try this. So we're just getting everything hooked back up. Now, why don't these have any colors or anything? Falling Sands, color mapper. Ah, these all need a reference to our simulation, which we've moved. I think these might be the same. Yep. Okay, so that should get us back to where we were. And we're upside down, so the whole thing's running backwards. Let's fix that real quick. Let's do this. That should be 180. Why are these rotations are all so backwards? How's my dog today? She's very good. She's not on my desk at the moment though, unfortunately, so I can't show you. But yeah, she's good. By the way, I've decided that I'm going to have to go at NVIDIA Broadcast. Nice. Yeah, NVIDIA's Broadcast is it's a good tool. It's handy. Hopefully that works for you and gets rid of that the microphone issues you were having. Okay, so we're back to falling in the correct direction. We have access to all of our tools. We can carve things out. We can drop things. We can manipulate the world. Nice. Okay, and then if we press tab, we're back into kind of game view. So let's get our character actually moving around. So the rule is you can only move when you're not in that kind of embroidery mode. So let's create a flag. Actually, we already have one. So if not this dot embroidery game object active can handle movement. And so we will have a movement ref. So we can get the movement vector like so. Vector2 movement equals this dot movement ref dot action dot read value vector2. And let's just debug that to make sure we're all hooked up. I wish Unity did get rid of legacy and merge pipelines, that problems might disappear. I 100% agree. I wish they would deprecate things a bit more aggressively. If you want to stay on the old stuff, you can stay on an old version of the engine. Otherwise, if you want to keep up to date on the latest version, you have to migrate to the new things. I think that would be a huge improvement. It would save them a ton of development time. And yeah, I think everything would just kind of go much smoother. It'd be much less confusing. Okay, so let's create our movement system. Or input. Okay, we already have one. Vector2, perfect. Let's hook that up. And let's see if that's working. It is, so I can move around. We can see that vector there. So now we can start moving our character around. So there's a couple things we need to consider in this. The way that we've set this up, we're not going to be able to rely on default physics. We don't have a mesh collider that can represent our world because it's all dynamically done inside of a shader. So we need to handle that for our y-axis, basically like where we are vertically. But for moving around, I think it's a pretty simple raycast that we can do. So if the movement is empty, we can just exit out. Nothing to do. Otherwise, we need to translate that based on the camera. So let's have a think about that for a second. I really hope so. That EA microphone would be perfect if it didn't pick up the fan. Yeah, hopefully that works for you. Okay, let's simplify this and just get this aligned to the axis. Like so. Okay. So if we just do this dot transform dot translate movement times this dot movement speed times time dot delta time, and let's define that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, we're super slow and we're going backwards. Let's do a little thing here. Let's give this guy a little head so we can actually see what way he's facing. So those are our placeholder eyes for the moment. So, okay, if I hold right, I'm moving left, and if I hold left, I'm moving right. And that's because we need to translate this to be relative to the camera. Transformer direction from world space to local space, perfect. It looks like his VR headset on. Yeah, kind of. Hello, Banksy. Actually, I want to show you guys something. So I was having a think about what our character might look like, and I was going through some character reference ideas. So I found these really cool kind of like farmer plushies, which I think might be kind of cool. But then I found this kind of cow plushie. And I don't know why, something about this kind of really stuck out to me. And I think it'd be kind of cool to do like a Highland cow version of this guy. So he's like a little farmer with his little short legs and like his overalls and everything, and we can walk around and we, fit this whole kind of embroidery theme. So I think that might be cool. And yeah, I was just kind of getting some color references and stuff like that. Kind of classic farmer with the red shirt, the blue overalls. But I really like this kind of cow. I don't know why. I think that might be fun. So I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Okay, cool. And then we need to actually flatten this out. What is that? Project on plane? Vector, plane normal. Let's give that a shot. What's that? Vector 3, project on plane. Yep, let's give that a go. Can it beat a Highland Coup, the engineer? I absolutely agree. I feel like that'd be an adorable little character. By the way, thanks for tuning in, man. Good to see you. Ilox, how's it going? Highland cows are so sweet. Yeah, they are. They're adorable. Okay, so we can move around. Super basic. We can hop into our embroidery, create our little world. And now we are in the water. We'll have to figure out what happens there if you change the ground beneath you. That's obviously no good. We're obviously also way too slow. Let's speed that up a little bit. So there's a couple things we need to do. One is we need to handle physics, which is easy enough with the kind of main objects, but obviously with our plane, which is dynamically generated, that's a little bit trickier. So we need to handle that. We need to handle looking in the direction that we're moving. We need to handle not walking on water, so preventing the player from going into water. And yeah, so quite a few things that we need to work out here. My favorite island of Faro North is the one where you have to separate the coos and the sheep. Yeah, I like that one as well. That one actually, little inside baseball, was actually the closest one to getting cut, unfortunately. And I'm glad it made it in. But I feel like it did come across a bit rougher than some of the others. Chilling, I was convinced we were Friday and found out it's not true, so I'm sad. Yeah, I'm sorry to break the bad news. How are you? I'm good, man. I'm good. All right, so first things first, let's look in the direction that we're moving. So we can actually, let's save that speed change that we made. Anyone have any weekend plans? I know it's only Thursday, but so we want to go 5, and then we'll also do a rotation speed. I think it's actually easier to just do this. And let's give that a go. It's not going to be animated. We'll animate that in a second. Okay, something wacky's going on here. Ah, because our camera's following. So let's actually do this. So our camera, we don't want our camera to rotate, we just want the player to. Actually, you know what? Maybe there's an easier way to do this. Let's do this. Let's just rotate the model transform and not the entire object. Let's give that a go. How did that nearly get cut? I love it. So this is the coup in the sheep island. I think at some point I kind of realized that was like a little bit overstretched, and maybe I couldn't polish all the islands as much as I wanted to. So it was kind of tempting, and that was kind of one of the logical ideas to cut. But yeah, thankfully it didn't. We ended up keeping it and getting it over the line, so I'm happy about that. Mind you, I did first try to get the coups all stuck on the edge of the cliff for a while, but I managed to get off the rocks in the end. Cool, glad to hear that. Friends coming over via Ferrata. What's Ferrata? Probably some escape room. Cool, that's nice. Do you have any plans? Yeah, I do, but I can't say. I can tell you guys next week. I can't tell you today, but I have a really exciting plan, something I've been meaning to do for a very long time, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. So I'll probably have some like pictures and stuff next week I can show you. Hey Kyle, first time actually catching one of your streams live. Cool, thanks Daniel. Thanks for tuning in. I've been watching the replays after work and really enjoying them. Love the game concept. Cool, thank you. I really appreciate that. Glad to have you here live, Daniel. Right, okay, so we have our camera, pop that there. So this is going to be our model, which right now is just the capsule. And let's assign that here and see if that fixes our rotation issue. It does not. We are rotating, but not in the direction that I'm moving. So why is that? Because this should actually be like so. And let's give that a shot. Neat. All right, super basic, but it works. We can move in every direction. We move a little bit too fast when we go diagonally, so we just need to normalize this. Via Ferrata, you've looked it up already. I think it's easier if you do it again. All right. What is Via Ferrata? Iron Way in Italian is a protected climbing route found on cliffs and mountains, typically featuring cables, ladders, and bridges fixed to rock. Cool. I definitely don't think I've Googled this before, but if I have, sorry. But that sounds fun. So it's just a type of climbing, I guess. My very first Feral North fail, though, was when I got completely and utterly lost, so much that I had to quit the game. That was my first playthrough, too. Since then, I've left Braun alone. Ah, I'm sorry to hear that. You got lost, like, what was it that kind of got you lost? Okay, neat. So we can move around. Now let's prevent going through things. All right, so if not physics.raycast. And we're going to start from our current position plus just like a bit of an offset. We will go in the direction of the movement vector for a distance of, let's do this, float raycast distance. Something like that. So if we hit something, if this raycast detects something ahead of us, we just don't move, essentially. Or we only move if there's no hit detected. So let's give that a go. And actually, while we're here, let's do a quick slurp. So this will just animate our rotation, so it's not so abrupt. Easier and more accessible. There's one in my city, the only one in the EU that's in a town. The only one that's the only one that you can do in the entire EU that's in a town. That's convenient. What kind of character will we be? So this is what I was saying. So I want you guys' opinion on this. So I was doing a little bit of research on this, and I was initially thinking like a little farmer, and I think it'd be cool to do it in like this kind of plush embroidered style, so it matches our art theme. But then I found this little coup, and then I was thinking, well, it'd be cool if we could do something similar. We could have like our little short legs, little ears coming out of the bonnet, just a cute little kind of cow character. I don't know why, but I just think that would be cute. But we did it in like a Highland coup style. And he's got little overalls and suspenders and all that. I think that'd be kind of cute, and it would kind of fit our like embroidered art theme here. Do you have plans for the weekend? Yeah, I have a big plans for the weekend, actually. I just can't say until next week, and I'll explain why at the time, but I'm really excited about it. And I'll have some cool pictures to show you guys afterwards. It was my fault, to be honest. Just safer not to go to the castle, since it's not only in real life that I'm awful with directions. Satnav's the only way to go. Yeah, maybe I should have put some satnav in the game. Will you even be able to see yourself? Yeah, this is our bean currently. This will be replaced by a character. So it's gonna, originally I was thinking first person, but now I'm thinking like a kind of isometric view like this. So this bean is representing what will eventually be our character. Let's move this down a little bit. Something like that. I also want to talk to you guys about the goal of the game, the actual gameplay, because I had some thoughts on that as well. So initially it was just, you would kind of terraform the world and you can go around and explore. And then I wanted to add some like, actual mechanics. So then we were talking about like a farming sim or something like that. But I've had a thought. What do you guys think about this? So what if we're a little shepherd guy? So imagine we're this little coup, and instead of like a, pitchfork, we have like a little shepherd staff. Very Farewell Northy. But to tie everything together, what if you go around and you find sheep? Whenever you find a sheep, they follow you around. But in order to get thread to actually, like, embroider the world, you have to shear the sheep. So you shear a sheep, you get a spool of thread from that, and then you can go into this embroidery view and you can start, changing the world. But the color of the thread that the sheep gives you is based on like berries or something that you feed the sheep. So you have to go around finding berries, you find sheep, the sheep follow you, you feed them a berry, they grow their fur in that color. So if you gave them a blueberry, they would grow blue fur. You shear them, you get a spool of blue thread, and then you can add water to the world. And then you find another sheep and you feed that one a green berry, and then you can add grass, or you know what I mean? I feel like that would be kind of fun. It would kind of tie everything up together in like a nice little loop. You know what I mean? So the goal of the game is just to kind of like explore the world, find sheep, and kind of build out the world exactly as you want it to be. But you're kind of like limited based on the berries you find and the sheep you find and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Sounds like that would be fun. Nice. That would be so amazing. Glad to hear that. Multiple sheeps equal baby. I don't know if we want to get into the birds and the bees, Ilox, but maybe. Yeah, maybe. Sounds fun. Cool. Thanks, Daniel. I like that. Thanks, Banksy. Adds a lot of incentive and actual direction. Yeah, it gives you a little bit more like purpose. So I think maybe like you start the game with one berry and one sheep. The sheep just kind of follows you around. You give it a berry, you harvest your thread, and then you can make like a path of soil, and that'll take you to the next sheep. So you can maybe in this view you can see where the sheep are. So you actually have like an objective to go find them. We'll have to see how that feels. But I feel like that kind of ties everything together a little bit. Cool. Glad to hear you guys like that, because I was thinking a lot about the farm idea ever since someone suggested the name. I think it was Barry suggested the name "Reap What You Sow," and so that got me thinking a lot about farm. Figure out what we would actually be doing, like how it would work as a game mechanic. This feels like, I don't know, just kind of ties everything together nicely, I feel. Okay, so we can walk around, but our collision check's not working. So let's figure out what's going on here. So we start from the current position plus vector up in the direction of movement vector, which is incorrect, actually. That needs to be converted back. This dot transform dot, I think inverse, no, transform direction. Transform direction from local space to world space. Perfect. Let's do that. Cool, found collision. Let's give that a go. Would the sheep have different colors on themselves based on the berries too? Yeah, so like their fur, rather than just growing white, would grow like blue or red or green or, you know, whatever it is. Would the start of the would just be blank white embroidery base then? Yeah, that's another question. I'm not sure. Because I think you need to not be able to walk everywhere. So maybe it's like, right now it's just black just because like that's the default color. It's not something we actually chose. But it needs to be kind of maybe like a fog of war or something like that, where like you can't see it yet in some way, and you can't actually go into that area. Otherwise, you could just walk around and collect all the sheep right at the beginning. I like the idea, but the details of gameplay feels off for now. Yeah, that's fair. Gameplay's always my weak suit, so that checks out. If you unlock grass, then you can just put grass everywhere and get sheep. No, okay, so yeah, so the other thing is that the thread spools will be limited. So like, you would only be able to do a small section before you run out of threads. You have to kind of keep harvesting your sheep and keep feeding them berries and stuff. So you're limited in the amount of thread you can actually use. I find it quite strange how Henry the Minnow can run Feral North with high FPS, but Embroidery Game at 15. That's because Feral North I put so much optimization in, and this is, you know, I'm rushing, essentially. Feral North also hardly uses any CPU. It's purely like a GPU-bound game. This game is kind of the opposite. It's pretty much using 100% CPU and very little GPU. But there's like a lot of things that aren't optimized about this. Like all the models, even though they're low poly, there's a lot of wasted triangles. Like this, the top of this stump, you shouldn't be able to see. There's just a lot of kind of wasted and quick rush in this game. Maybe on the embroidery map could be like buttons. You have to unstitch just visually. I don't know, seems cute, makes sense. Maybe on the map could be, oh, buttons. I see. You have to unstitch. Yeah, that could be cool. So there's like buttons that are kind of blocking. Imagine this is like a button, right? And then so like it's kind of blocking. You can't like put things in that area, and then somehow you can unstitch it. That could be cute. I could get into that. Oh, I know why our collision check's not working. We don't have colliders on any of these. That would explain it. So let's add that. So on our tree, we can do a simple capsule collider. Something like that. Just nice and quick. Yeah, good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then on the rocks, we'll do mesh colliders. That's rock 2. Rock 3. And rock 4. Okay, let's give that a go. Mike was fuzzy for a moment. Wow, why is that happening? It's fine now. Why does that keep happening? This started in the last stream, and I don't know. Messing around with showing Fern the what do you call it? showing for in the NVIDIA broadcast stuff. So I thought that was just isolated to that, but yeah, it seems like there's still an issue. I'll have to, I've got a couple filters on for like compression and stuff. I'll have to turn that off and see if I can isolate what's causing it. Okay, so we can't walk through things anymore. That's good. Cool. So the last thing, or not the last thing, but the next thing we need to figure out is the height map. How's it going, Manuel? I'm well, how are you? Got any weekend plans? So we need to actually align ourselves to the height, but we also need to prevent walking on water, and I think for now we prevent walking on like uninitialized space, just like black space. So let's do that real quick. So if that target position, so this is movement vector world space. So we have our collision check, but we also need to check if that new position that we would go into is an invalid cell. So vector 3, new position, per position plus and we can take that and we can query our falling sand simulation and see what kind of cell is that. So if it's water or if it's like an uninitialized space, then we can't move. It's not too major and it's not constant tiny sound or lag, so I don't think it's a big of an issue, just an odd one. Yeah, I heard it. I checked it in the VOD of the last one, and it did seem pretty annoying. And it kind of completely cut out at times, so I need to figure out what's causing it. Pretty good overall. I kind of have a date tonight. Ooh, congrats. And I'm both excited and absolutely terrified. Yeah, I can remember those days. You'll do great though. Do you have any plans for the date? Doing like a classic dinner and a movie or something adventurous? So we need a reference to our falling sand sim. So let's do something like this. So particle at position. So this falling sands dot get particle. So given a world position, we need to figure out which particle is in that spot. So let's have a think about this. Manual's all grown up. All right. Okay, let's have a think. For the moment, I'm just going to do this. Let's finish the logic in the player controller. So if that particle is this water or empty? So it's water or empty. We do not move. We still want to rotate though. So rotation I think is pretty much always going to happen. So we'll move that up here. So if it's an invalid particle type or we have a collision, then we don't move. Otherwise we do move. So now we just need to implement that. So given a world position, how do we get our particle at that point? Let's have a think. Split that right. It's a very spontaneous thing, and the weather's very unpredictable, so we don't really make plans. Ideally, we get some food and watch the sunset overlooking the city and the mountains of Luzerne. Nice. Sounds very romantic. Is it going to be a swimming mechanic, or will the player have to factor that in when landscaping? So I think water is going to be our main obstacle right now, so you won't be able to go through water. So I think when you get water spools, you'll kind of have to like manage them. So keeping water kind of out of the main path that you're trying to go on. We'll have to figure that out. But for now, yeah, you won't be able to go into water. Such a gloomy day. It has been raining in Scotland for like a week straight, but it's actually kind of sunny today. All right, so we have... What do we have? We have a plane. The size of the plane is not really relevant to anything, so we can't just normalize the position. We need to... Actually, let's see this. How big is our plane? So it looks like it's about 2 units wide by default. So if we were to shrink that down so it's 1 unit for easy math, then we could just normalize it based on where on the plane that lies. Gloomy in Dublin as well. Has it been really rainy there lately? Not raining where I am, but it's certainly cloudy. Lucky weatherman, next year can I come for the summer? It's over 30 degrees here again. Yeah, it's I think things would shut down if it got that hot here. This one. Where is our terrain? Okay, so now we know that one unit of our particle simulation takes up 2 units in world space. It's been so on and off with the weather as usual, spitting down rain here in buckets for 10 minutes, only for it to become sunny for 40 minutes, and then back to rain. That sounds like classic Scottish weather. Lovely Aussie Victorian weather, gotta love it. Very rainy over here. Yeah, so you must be getting the same thing we've been getting, Daniel. It's been a lot of rain. I think it's very similar to Scotland. It rains most days of the year. Yeah. Yeah, it pretty much is like, it's not if it's raining today, it's what time is it raining today. But the last week or so has been exceptionally bad. It's just nonstop rain. Okay, so where is our world origin? That's here. Cool. Okay, so we can basically, I think what we can do is we can basically take we can calculate the UV like this. So world position, UV equals world position dot X, world position dot Z. Divided by, I think it would be good to have the plane reference. So let's grab that. Like so. So that should give us the UV, and let's just have a look at what that gives us. But once we have the UV, we can do helpers.uv to grid space. Sorry, UV to particle index. UV, this dot width, this dot height. And we can, yeah, just grab the particle from that. Cool, let's give that a shot. Back from death. Welcome back, Joe. Is Zeb your dog, Fern? Oh, need to assign that. And I just realized I haven't been doing any of the error tracking, so let me add a couple here. So for those who don't know, we are doing all of this for charity. It's running for, it's a campaign called Games for the Wains for the Glasgow Children's Hospital. And so what we're doing as part of this jam is every time that there's an error, if I make a mistake, like a runtime error or compiler error, I'm donating £2 to the charity. And if you have the means, it'd be amazing. You can access the link here. If you have the means, it'd be great to support the Wains. They're Glasgow Children's Hospital obviously has a lot of children in it. They provide kind of gaming equipment, and they have a resident gamer to play with the kids and stuff like that. So it's a really cool cause, and yeah, so they're raising money for that, and yeah, it'd be cool if anyone could support, but no pressure. I need to work on that pitch because I feel like it's a big ramble. Cool. Okay, let's give that a go. So I shouldn't be able to move. Ooh. Should not be able to move once I assign this. Where's our simulation here? Let's grab the terrain there. Okay, so we have a mistake here. So we're getting a negative UV. Why is that? I'll track that error. Why are we getting a negative UV? So let's also log world position. The terrain scale and the UV we get. And let's have a look at what these numbers look like. How much left to go broke? Not too far. Miami's in Hawthorne, so I've been exploring a little bit of Melbourne than previously. Cool. Do you guys have a good train system in Australia? So we're getting negative values for the world position. That, oh, it does make sense. So let's fix that real quick. Okay, so we're using X and Z, that's correct. We are getting a valid UV, 0.44, 0.12, that's right. But we're getting an invalid index. Unity's train system is a good system that can't stream level, yet so powerful. Yeah, so we're not using the train system because it would be too... You can go back a few VODs to see if you're curious, but the way we're generating our height map with Unity's train system, we'd have to copy that back onto the CPU to get like collisions and all that kind of stuff. And it's not optional. There's no way to not do that. We don't need all that collision data and all the LODs and all that kind of stuff that Unity's terrain has. So it was costing like 4 or 5 milliseconds per frame to copy the height map back, which we didn't need to be doing. So we're just generating the terrain dynamically. But the downside to that is we don't have collisions on the plane. We don't know, you know, where the height of the terrain is at any time. So we need to reproduce that logic. Oh, you're just joking? Fair enough. The train system is not great, but it's working. It's not too expensive. I'm on concession, so it's max $5 a day to get around anywhere. Wow, that's good. Last time I used the buses, it was a nightmare, and I had to go to the train, only for it to be delayed by 40 minutes because of repair. But, you know, beats driving. I mean, that's not too bad, but I mean, $5, that's great. Both in Canada and in Scotland, it is way more expensive. I always think it's kind of a tragedy. Like in the UK, we have a pretty, you know, um, fantastic rail network. You can get pretty much anywhere in the country on the train, but it's so expensive. It's like prohibitively expensive. Like it's generally cheaper for me to fly down to London than to take the train, which is insane, you know? So why we're saying that this particles array is empty, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right, see you, Fern. Good luck. I'm guessing you're taking the dog out. Good luck. So why is our particle... Ah, of course, because we haven't actually initialized it yet. That makes a lot of sense. So what we're going to do is if particle index is greater than or equal to the length of particles, we're just going to return empty. Let's give that a shot. I'm from the Netherlands and it takes like half their pay to go to work and back. It's insane. So expensive for what? Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. In Canada, the rail network is like just kind of abysmal. Like the trains run like once an hour, maybe once a half hour during like rush hour. And there's pretty much just like east and west. Like that's it. So you pretty much need a car or a bus on either end of the train. Um, Plus we have like, you know, crazy winters and everything. So no one uses the train in Canada. A lot of people use the train, but no one wants to use the train. A lot of people just prefer to drive. But we also have crazy traffic as well. So it's just a nightmare. And then, yeah, in the UK, we have a great rail network, but it's just super expensive. So you sculpt terrain in the circle thingy, I forgot, and then you do cozy farming on top of it. Yeah, so we're doing this kind of simulation here where, you know, you can drop these kind of like threads or particles, and then they interact with one another. So like if you have soil and water, it turns to grass, stuff like that. And then we generate the world based on that. So right now, like all these props are just like placed there for the moment. But what we're gonna start doing is start spawning trees and grass and all that kind of stuff based on the world that you're kind of creating. So you can kind of, yeah, like terraform your world essentially. Okay, so we can't walk through this. We can walk through grass, that's great. And then we shouldn't be able to go onto the water. Hmm. We can get quite far out into the water. Why is that? Oh, it's because that's sand out until there. That's okay. So you can kind of like step into the water, you just can't cross it. That's fine. So now we need to worry about the height and actually aligning them to the plane. This is kind of the tricky part because we can't use a collider on this train. The train is in the town where I live. The train in the town where I live is only like two trains come in towards Melbourne, and it's like 5 and 7:30 a.m. Oh wow, and it goes back at 7:45 p.m. Yeah, that's wild. In the city, they run at least every half hour, so I get whiplash how convenient it is. That will take more than a month to polish. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that as well, especially because I'm only working on this a couple hours a day and only a couple days a week. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a stretch. But I think once we start, you know, actually spawning trees and stuff like that and grass and all that, I think it'll start to feel a bit more interesting and it'll start to come together. I'm gonna increase the rate to something like, yeah, that feels better. Okay, let's save that. Welcome back, Fern. No, Mike's playing up again. Hopefully the mic's back. Let's try this. Let me know if this is any better. Hopefully you can hear me now. It's back now. I can't hear you, I can't hear you, I can hear you now. Cool, okay. Okay, fingers crossed the change I made. Fingers crossed the change I made prevents that happening again. Okay, so let's have a look at our terrain shader. Sing a song just to check. I don't think I will. By the time our message is saying the mic is gone, come up on the screen, the microphone's working again. Yeah, I gotta, okay, those are the two things I need to figure out, is what's going on with the mic and why is there a delay. Today the mic seems to die when you're playing for a while. Maybe your system is working too hard. Yeah, I think that's it. So one thing that I'm doing with the mic is there's a noise reduction just to kind of kill any background noise. And I think like there's two kind of settings for that. And the one I was using was kind of the high quality, more CPU usage version. So I'm thinking maybe that's just kind of getting overloaded and it's falling behind or something. So I switched it to the lower quality one. Hopefully that works. Okay, so we have this function on the GPU, get smoothed height. And what this is doing is basically just doing like a box blur of the current particle and all the neighboring particles and kind of blurring the height to kind of smooth it out. Essentially, we need to do the same thing now on the CPU, which is alarming. However, we don't need to do it for every vertex. We only need to do it for the particle that the player is actually standing on. So it's going to be 1 plus the 8 neighboring particles per frame. So it's very, very minimal. So we can basically just replicate this logic on the CPU side. So let's go back into our player controller and let's replicate this. Get smooth height. Actually, let's do this in our falling sand simulation, because I think we'll need this in a few other places eventually. So given a world position, and you know what, let's actually move this into one of our helper functions. So this will be public static float2 world position to UV. This can be something like this. Quick question, will you be able to see the sheep through the fog of war as a goal to build the terrain towards? I think you'll see them on the embroidery, so you'll see like where they are and where you want to get to, but you wouldn't see them like in the 3D world until you can actually access them, I think. Will there be sound effects like water, fill, soil form? Can Fmod do that though? I remember Fmod had Unity events to call, making easy. I don't know, I haven't used. Yeah, so I use Fmod in all my projects. It's great, very, very experienced with it. And I think my composer, who also, we use Fmod together in all our projects, I think we're going to get him on a live stream and he's going to create music and maybe some sound effects for the game in one of the streams, which I think would be a lot of fun. Do you have a generated blurred height map on the CPU and can you sample that? No, we don't. Assuming not since it's a shader, but you never know. So we did this two ways. So first we started with a compute shader where we were doing exactly that, where we would create the height map as a texture, copy it back and apply it to the terrain, which is the way you kind of have to do it with Unity's terrain system. That was super inefficient, super slow. We were wasting like 4 or 5 milliseconds per frame just on that terrain update. So what we did is instead we just have a very highly subdivided plane, and we just do it in the vertex shader, which means we don't have that data anywhere. However, the calculation's really quite simple. We do have the entire particle simulation on the CPU, so we have all the data. So it's just a few array indexes. It's really not, all that slow, because we only need to calculate the height for one point, which is where the player is at. We don't need to do it for the entire terrain. So yeah, it should be very efficient. It'll barely register on the profiler, but we can definitely test that. So let's do this. So this is helpers dot, what was it, world position to UV, and so we have our world position, and we have terrain dot local scale. Okay, so now we can do the same thing here. UV to grid pause. Yep. Lunch break, cool. Have fun. Enjoy your lunch. Want a Unity pro tip? Build your own terrain system completely. Yeah, essentially what we did, but obviously ours is a very, very simple, just a plane with a shader on it. There's nothing too complicated about it. Morning, CV Hamilton. Oh, this is... Cool, so this is our get smoothed height. So we're gonna give it a world position and a radius. Let's give that a go. So where are we? Translate, yeah, here, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna first set this dot transform. Here's what we're gonna do. Position equals current position. But we're gonna modify current position dot y to be this dot falling sands dot get smoothed height at the current position, and the radius, we'll make this a value. This dot height smoothing radius. Sorry, we'll make it a property. I mean, public int height smoothing radius is 2. And we can quickly profile that and see how long that actually takes. What is that? Profiling dot begin sample. So let's see. My guess is it's going to be less than 0.01 milliseconds. It should be very, very small. Let's first make sure it actually works, though. It does not. Why is that? Let's see what we're actually getting back from that. 33 degrees combined with my PC making heat 38 degrees. Ooh, that is toasty. That's too toasty. So we're always getting 0 back. Why would we always be getting 0 back? Let's see. Okay, so we convert the world space position to UV. This should be local scale. That is probably why. When do you think you'll do the next build? Potentially at the end of the stream, actually. Now that we can move around, I think it'd be a good time to send that out and make sure that this still runs on everyone's machines. Okay, we're still getting 0. Let's move over to the water. Okay, so it is going down. So we need to add some smoothing to that. But we're also not normalizing this for the actual amount that we're displacing the terrain. So let's do that. But first let's smooth this. So current position.y equals mathf.move towards. Let's do that, and then yeah, let's see how long this is actually taking to calculate. Maybe if you sing a song saying how bad the water is, the rivers will feel ashamed of themselves and be obedient. Maybe. Add silly water that moves towards Beanjig. So one thing we still need to do is the actual water shader, because obviously right now we just have like a blue plane. But we really need to get some gameplay going, because we currently really have nothing. So that's priority. So I'm getting stuck here. Why am I getting stuck here? I'm not sure. Let's quickly profile that just to make sure that this is actually like a valid solution. What did we call that? Height smoothing? We might need deep profiling. One sec. Grass equals water border. So the border, there's always a buffer of sand between grass and water. So when water touches soil, it creates one pixel of, like one particle of sand, and then grass beyond that. However, this also raises another question. There's a lot of outstanding questions here. We currently, let me do this. We pause the simulation when this isn't open. So if I add water, you see the sand and the grass, but if I close this, it pauses. So the simulation's not running anymore until I open it back up. So that's something we need to think about. Do we want that or not? Here we go, height smoothing. 0.03, 0.03. Okay, so it's a little bit more than I expected, but this is with deep profiling enabled and it is an editor. I think with in a build it's gonna be less than 0.01, but yeah, either way that's still acceptable. It's very, very small. We can get by with that. It's much better than the 5 milliseconds we were spending copying the array back and forth, or sorry, the height map back and forth. And they say AI gonna replace everything. Game dev equals problems. We love problems. Yeah, it's all problem solving, really. That's like half of what programming is. Okay. So one thing we were having an issue with is getting stuck for some reason. So as I was walking towards the water, I was getting stuck on something. That's an error. So this is saying, we need to do one quick check here. if we have not initialized the particles yet, just return 0. Yep. Okay, let's do that. I heard that AI can make games now. I wonder if they're actually good. Probably not. I would almost guarantee not. It just gives input to generate images, constantly generates an image. You can't really code on top of that. Yeah, so there's two ways that people are doing that, and I think both are kind of bad. So one is you basically have like a simulation running that's just generating images in real time, and so it's like generating the game as you play, but there's no like state or memory. So like you could see a door turn back, and then the door's gone because it can't like remember that there's, you know, was meant to be a door there, because it's just generating images. And yeah, you can't really like build on top of that. It's, I think the only way that that works is if you're just like generating a game based on something that already exists. So if you wanted to like play Duke Nukem or like Doom or something like that, then it can like generate that for you, but it's, I don't know, garbage. And then the other is like people just using AI to generate code and stuff, and I think that probably is fine for like a game jam, but I really doubt you can kind of sustain that for an entire game. How are you doing today? I'm great, thanks Scottish Phoenix. How are you? Hating UE5 for the math I have to do. Fair enough. What are you working on? Okay, cool. I think there's something wrong with our UV check, because it's like it's letting me walk on water over here and then not over here. I think there's something off there, like getting stuck randomly. Like it doesn't think I can walk there, but I clearly can. So we gotta fix that. I hope they stay awful. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I'm not big on the whole AI thing. I think AI could work if you have a lot of data-driven systems and AI generating that data, but that would mean you still need a game dev to create the basis. Yeah, maybe. But there's so many ways to generate data. Like, why AI is such an expensive, like, brute force. Like, I don't know. It's just like very inelegant and very, you know, it's all just based on like stolen data and everything. Like, it really, the whole thing kind of really rubs me the wrong way. Okay, there's something wrong here for sure. Whatever math I need to do isn't possible with the nodes. I see. Can you like intermix C++ with nodes? Like, can you create like custom function nodes, or do you have to like go one or the other in UE? Yeah, see, like we're not getting the right height here. Something's off with our UV calculation. So let's think here. So if I'm at position, if I create a cube, 3D object, cube, and I put this at position -100, whatever, 1, -100. Okay, so that is not, I would expect that to be at the center point of this terrain, but it is not. So we're slightly off. I think our plane isn't the size I thought it was. It's fine. So if I do 1, 1, 1, 1, the same size. Oh. That's what I'm thinking might be possible, but at the start of the project, you either pick C++ or blueprints. Oh, so you can't, or you're not sure if you can mix them. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have assumed that you could, but yeah, that's a shame if you can't. I thought old people enjoyed the outdoors, but I'm the only one ever eating in the park. It's a lonely existence. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to debug what UV we're getting back. So what's the best way to go about that? So if I put this cube at 200, 200, sorry, minus 200, minus 200. It is not at the edge of the terrain. So our terrain is definitely not exactly 1 unit. Is there a way to measure in dimensions 1, 1, 1? Yeah, why? 1 minus 1. So it is in Blender, but here it is not. Ah, okay, it's not at 0, 0, that's why. So let's fix that. That should fix it. By the way, the mic has not screwed up yet since changing. And does the sound quality seem different, or is it feel pretty much the same? Okay, so it seems to be getting the right UV, but our height is a little bit off, just a little bit. What if we do in our terrain shader, height scale 0.02. Do we need to handle this? Let's have a think about that. So we're scaling, or we're extruding the vertices. Sorry, we're displacing the vertices at a scale of 0.025. Smooth height times 0.025. That's in object space. In world space, since it's 111, the scale of the object is 111, it should be something we need to account for, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Since it's not just brackets, but it's also add, subtract, and assign math, this is all for AI pet. Oh yeah, you were telling us about that in a previous stream, weren't you? You can definitely mix Blueprint and C++ and UE. I haven't been there myself, but I modded Arc SE, and they have both. They have used both in combination. Yeah, I would have thought you would have been able to. AI is so expensive and uses up so much to run for what? Agreed. Yeah, it's a really terrible solution. Like, I think every 300 words ChatGPT generates is about 1.5 bottles of water used to cool down the data center. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it seems completely unsustainable. Sound quality is good, hasn't changed. Perfect. It's same, I mean good, perfect. Mic quality is the same. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, glad to hear that. So hopefully this is our solution. AI absolutely cannot create games, not ones that work anyway. I think the sad thing is, in my opinion, like, it is kind of inevitable that it will be able to at some point, but it's just like, why, you know? It's it's all just like based off stolen data. And I know not everyone agrees with the ethical side of it, but it is all based off stolen data, taken out without permission from artists and developers and all these people, and just kind of like transferring all that power to big corporations. Not to get on my soapbox or anything, but it's just the whole thing kind of really rubs me the wrong way. Okay, so we need to, I think, be offsetting our height more, but I can't work out the math of what that should be. So height smoothing scale. Let's give that a go. See if we can work out what that should be. I believe those fake advertisements created by images from games. Like you get tricked by them, Joe? AI is a thief? Yeah, agreed. IMO AI stupid without our creativity and knowledge, we need them. Yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't even want to play a game that's not made by somebody, you know? Like if there was no intent and artistry and like humanity behind the project, why would I want to play it? Okay, so we need some ground to walk on. We need to increase the speed that we're smoothing. Let's go like 10. That's a bit much. I think we need to increase our radius here, so it's not so jerky. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. So for the color, we do a bilinear filter inside the blur. We're not doing that for the heights. We're still getting these kind of like distinct kind of steps. So I think we might need to account for that. For the moment, let's go with this, 555. And then let's have a think about that. Because human labor is too expensive. That data was on the internet anyway, so it's clearly free to use, and it's so ethical to hide that we're taking user data deep in our terms and conditions that people can't argue. It can't opt out of our use for our services. It's so clearly good objectively, obviously, wow, yeah. Noting just a hint of sarcasm there, Banksy. I did have to use ChatGPT for this pet since there was nothing documented that was exactly what I was looking for. It was just to combine all sources of info for this custom project. See, like I think that the tools do have use. I think it's impossible to deny that. I think it's the AI-ification of everything kind of contributing to the shitification of everything, and the sense that, like, you know, if you go on Twitter, you can scroll for like 2 minutes before you start seeing all these people being like, you know, like concept artists are screwed or game developers are screwed, check out this new thing. And it's like clearly like intent on taking away people's jobs just to kind of transfer all that into the hands of a few corporations. And yeah, the whole thing is it's so unethical in my opinion. And I don't like hate on people who use ChatGPT or whatever. It's fine. I've used it a few times myself. I don't regularly use it. And generally I haven't really found the results to be all that great, but I know that that's just a matter of time. I just think the whole thing is like, it just really rubs me the wrong way. OpenAI confessed they aim to escape human control 7% of tests, which means get ready for Terminator. Varied AIs, I use as a concept to show the artist what exactly I'm looking for to get the message across. AI, don't mind if it's Gen AI and the constant... AI, don't mind, it's Gen AI and the constant obsession with it being everything right now that pisses me off. Exactly, yeah. I mean, AI as a term doesn't really mean anything anymore. It's like, you know, like they're just labeling everything as AI. I think I was on the last stream I was talking about, I use Adobe Podcast, and now all of its branding has changed to AI all of a sudden. Whereas like 2 years ago, the same tool was not branded as AI, and it's because it's just such a buzzword. So if people put AI on everything, and every commercial is like your new AI phone, your new AI laptop, your new AI this, it's just, meaningless. It's frustrating. But yeah, Gen AI is the one with like the actual ethical concerns. And I used to work in machine learning, like as part of my career as a software developer. I used to work on models for like creating thermal models for people's homes using machine learning and neural networks and stuff like that. I did a lot of that stuff. So I think ML is really cool, actually. There's a lot of really cool applications for that and a lot of great things people can do with that. It's just the Gen AI specifically, where we've, stolen all of humanity's knowledge and, are now selling that back to them, I think is really, really gross. I went to somebody's house once. There was a really, really nice lunch that they made, and the recipe had been made with AI. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. The AI didn't make it though, right? It just like took a whole bunch of like common data from the internet and just like mixed it together, and yeah. We want AI fish. AI fish to eat or AI fish for like a game? Okay, so here's a problem, right? So if that wasn't a good example. If I do this, first of all, I need to be able to see where I am on the map. But if I do this and I like sink myself in water, suddenly like I'm stuck here. I can't do anything. So we got to think about that. This scale is wrong. I'm trying to think, okay, mathematically, I'm trying to think what this equates to. So we're smoothing the height in the vertex. We're taking the vertex y position, multiplying it by the smooth height, or sorry, adding the smooth height times a height scale, which is 0.025. That's in local space to that object. What is the equivalent here? If we do 0.025, that's going to be nothing in world space. What is the equivalent? I love neural networking since it is the object learning on its own rather than being forced to be smart. Yeah, neural networks are like actually really cool. They're very cool conceptually, and they're fun to reason about, and they're a handy tool. It's more the data gathering process that I think I take issue with, right? Like if you train a neural network using data that you have access to, you have ethical access to, that's completely fine and absolutely reasonable to do. It's the stealing of data and taking things without the consent of the people who actually produced it. That's what's frustrating. Okay, so two problems. So we still have this issue where we're kind of like the height is kind of snappy, and it's because we're not doing the bilinear filter in our height sampling. So we need to do that. And then we need to figure out that scaling issue, how much we actually should be displacing. So if I, just for a moment, let's do like infinity. Where are we? And let's hide the plane for a second. I've just picked 5 as the scale randomly. It kind of seems to line up, but mathematically I can't reason about what that should actually be. So let's just use 5 for a moment and fix the other issue. To explore the sea. I just went ahead and tried something, and I got this amazing AI quote: 1 + 1 = 2, always has been, always will be. Honestly, AI is just weird. 1 + 1 = 3 because 1 gets pregnant with plus. The game Inzoi used an AI to generate textures that runs on your local GPU and only use data they have licensed. I think that's valid. I think so as well. Like if you actually have the license to that data and you're training it ethically, then it's basically no different than procedural generation, right? You could argue about like how much control you have over it and how much energy it's using and stuff like that, but at least it's like my ethical concern with it is gone. That's fine. Do you think YouTube is worth it for wish lists? That's a really good question. So for me, First of all, it's kind of hard to track where wishlists actually come from. So it's a little tough to say. I think YouTube was kind of a steady source of wishlists for me for Farewell North. Like it kind of boosted my kind of like daily wishlist rate, but I never saw big spikes after posting a YouTube video. I think even for my biggest YouTube videos, I didn't see a big wishlist spike from that. TikTok and Instagram and stuff, you could very clearly correlate, like this video went out yesterday, got 1 million views, and today I got 1,000 wish lists kind of thing. Like you could find that correlation really easily. I never saw that for YouTube. However, I'm not a super successful YouTuber. You know, there's other channels that are a lot more successful that, you know, average hundreds of thousands of views, and I think they probably do see more wish lists naturally from that. But the one thing I did find very, very valuable about YouTube is it's probably the best community building tool that I've seen. So like TikTok and Instagram, people aren't as kind of like attached to your project as they are on YouTube. On YouTube, they really follow kind of the details of the long-term development of the game. And so it was a great source of community feedback, of community engagement, of you know, feedback on the game itself and helping to like develop the game in that sense. So YouTube was definitely worth it. I just don't know if it was a huge driver of wish lists specifically for me. Banksy, I don't see your other message now. The reason I ask, I feel like it's devlogs mainly tracked other devs. It's very rare, but people like Gavin, Choo got 20,000s of wish lists. Yeah, like actually this, I don't think it's gonna be all that interesting. But for Farewell North, I think we're currently at like 130,000 wish lists, and we were at 60,000 when we launched. And if I'm just gonna pull this up off stream so I don't give away a ton of data I shouldn't. If we just look at the history of wish lists for the game, let's go. Sorry, just give me a second, guys. If I go from like 2020. Okay, so this graph isn't the most, it's kind of blown out by one single day, but let me show you. So this graph here, this shows day-by-day wish lists over the 4 years that Farewell North was in development. So you can see these like random spikes, right? So you can't really see the kind of daily rate. Let me pull up a second graph side by side. So this excludes launch day, so it's just a little bit easier to see the numbers. So launch day is like just past this graph. So you can see all these spikes. So these are kind of like random different events that we had and stuff like that. So like this was probably, what is that, late 2022? It's probably Gamescom was one of our biggest events. We went to Gamescom, we had a booth there and stuff like that. There's all these different events that we go to and you know, all that kind of stuff. And they result in these spikes. And a lot of these are TikToks, a lot of these are Instagrams, a lot of these are events and physical events. But I don't think, I'd have to go back and check one by one, but I would be very doubtful that any of these were actually YouTube devlogs. And it's because, exactly as you said, people are mostly devs on YouTube who are following the game. And if you have a video that gets 1 million+ views, of course you're going to reach a wider audience and you're going to get some wish list from that. But if you have a smaller channel like mine that gets maybe a good devlog, maybe gets like 50,000 views, very, very few people of that are going to be like gamers, and very few of those are going to bother wishlisting the game. But it is a great source of feedback and a great source of community building, as I said. And I think people did appreciate kind of following along and kind of participating in that journey and felt a sense of like they were along for the ride. And I think some of that converted to sales. But the other thing to consider about YouTube is that it is by far the most time-consuming platform, like social platform. It's way more time-consuming than TikTok and Instagram, and the reach is much smaller for game dev YouTube. So it's, you know, kind of debatable whether it's worth it. But I think for the community building aspects and community engagement and stuff, it definitely was. If you don't mind asking, how many wishlists do you have when you launched Farewell North? I think the week of launch we had like 60,000, like 60. And then currently we have like 120 or 118, I think. Actually send to YouTubers, those who make upcoming game videos, since AI lives information, feed your game promotion to them. I mean, aside from the AI thing, it is much more efficient to leverage other people's YouTube channels rather than trying to create your own, right? So I think if the only thing you care about for YouTube is like that, the marketing and promotion, I think you're much better off investing in PR or just like outreach to streamers and using their channels rather than building your own. When do you think you will try to see if you can turn the gray block with a VR headset into a person/cow? Probably tomorrow. I think that would be a good kind of episode of the stream. I love VR Bean. Hey, Zeldude, welcome. Better late than never. Yeah, why have people decided let's take our entertainment, make it all in the hands of AI, not for actual expression? Exactly, completely agree. Like even AI writing is all watery and not fun, and even if it improves, it's never going to have the same depth and emotion what an actually talented writer can produce. And I think it's also just like why bother reading something that no one bothered to write? You know what I mean? Like it's just slop, you know. It's writing for the sake of writing. And when people talk about like, oh, everyone can have their own unique game and their own unique worlds because they can just generate them and it'll be exactly what you want, to me that's not appealing at all. Like I want to share that experience with other people. I want to play a game and be able to talk to you and be like, oh, did you see this, did you see that, like blah blah blah. Like to me that's that kind of common shared interest and that common experience is what makes these things interesting. And same with reading, same with movies, all that kind of stuff. It's like the social aspect of like discussing it with people and dissecting and like theorizing and all that kind of stuff. And you lose all that if everyone's just got their own experience. To me, it becomes meaningless, you know. I loved your devlogs. Thank you very much. I would have never bought the game if it wasn't for the YouTube videos, so it's typically not my genre. Oh well, cool. Well, first of all, thanks for buying the game, and I guess that kind of proves me wrong in a sense. So I guess the YouTube devlogs do work in that sense. But yeah, I think you naturally on YouTube you kind of get more time with the creator, right? And so you get a little bit more attached to the journey. Whereas with TikTok and Instagram stuff, you're just kind of like scrolling and you get like 5 seconds and then you're like, oh, that's cool, like it, move on. With YouTube, you're like spending time with them, and I think you build that, you know, more of a sense of community that way. Thanks, man. That's a nice insight. Didn't really think about forming a small community per se. Yeah, I think so. Like, you could talk about there's a whole thing about like marketing funnels and like I don't know the terminology, but there's like, you know, kind of the entry points where you get like a lot of people and you start bringing them into your funnel. And then there's like lower down is like smaller groups, but you kind of like, those are the ones who are going to like actually buy the game and care about it and stuff. And I think, you know, TikTok and Instagram are great for reaching a huge audience. YouTube's great for taking that huge audience and like finding the kind of core big fans and kind of getting them really like excited. And then Discord and stuff like that are other tools to like kind of build on it. So it's like you have community building, like finding people, and then community engagement is like keeping them interested. And I think those are kind of like two sides of the same coin, but they're kind of equally important. It needs to be a Highland coup, obviously. Of course, yeah. So here's our little concept art. So I was doing some search on like little plushy farmers and stuff like that, but then I came across this little coup who's so cute. So I was thinking maybe we can take like a Highland cow and I wonder if this actually is AI. It kind of has that like cartoony look to it. I don't know, just grabbed off Google Images. But yeah, if we could do something like this, like cute little legs and like coveralls and all that kind of stuff, but in like a Highland coup style, I think that'd be fun. YouTube caresses my videos so much it's annoying. Planet Zoo and Feral North came out fine, but WolfQuest and Emerald Shelter go pretty fuzzy. Make sure you're uploading like normal, like H.264 or something like that. If you're using like weird compression, maybe YouTube's struggling with it when it's converting. I'm not sure. I haven't really had that issue. Let alone the political repercussions of AI generation getting better, like the amount of misinformation around India and Pakistan, the fake images, their politicians spreading propaganda that didn't happen. Yeah, I think we're already getting to a point where like you have no idea what is real and what is not. It's like, yeah, like even this, I'm not sure. This now that I'm looking at it, very well could be AI. I don't know who Flow Safari is. I don't know if this is actually created or not. I have no idea if that's AI or not. Right? Like the AI is getting very convincing, and I think that's a really bad thing. Yeah, no idea. And then yeah, political misinformation, all that kind of stuff. It's gonna be a nightmare. I first saw Feral North on YouTube when it popped up in my home feed, watched the trailer and stream, realized the spring Steam sale was coming up soon and thought it'd be fun for my channel. So you first saw it on YouTube, like you saw the trailer, or you saw a what did you see? Like was it a streamer playing it? Was it a trailer? The cows definitely AI, both cows are AI. Damn. That's frustrating. Deleting these. Anyways, this one I'm pretty sure is real, and that's the style we're going for. Yeah, I think you guys are right. Anyways, what we're doing, we need to do a bilinear filter on our height smoothing. So let's do that real quick. So we're gonna steal this. It was just a random person playing it. Cool. I always felt like streamers weren't a huge part of our strategy for Feral North, because I feel like story games just don't tend to be as interesting to streamers, and they also don't convert to sales, because like if you watch someone play the story, why would you go play the game yourself? But I'm glad to be wrong. I looked on the internet. It's something to do with small channels. Since I only have 151 subscribers, YouTube doesn't bother leaving video quality. It just compresses it a lot. That kind of makes sense. That's frustrating. Right. Okay. So we need. These are all just float. I always thought of that as well, but have you seen Chilla's art games? Chilla's art, I know they made like Shinkansen Zero. I don't know their other games. But if their other games are like Shinkansen Zero, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of, that I wouldn't really consider that to be the same thing. Like I think those kind of games, those like anomaly horror games, actually are really, really strong for streamers, because you know, there's the one aspect where like you're seeing them kind of like get scared is always kind of makes for good content, but it's also there's like randomization and there's like different anomalies and stuff like that. So I think those all allow you to like see that and be like, oh, I want to check this out for myself. They're sort of horror story games, but they're short, but they sell well because of the streamers and all that. I think the multiple different endings help. Oh yeah, that would help as well. Yeah, so like Feral North's a very linear game, right? Like we have side content and side islands and stuff, but there's not a whole lot of variety in your playthrough versus my playthrough. So I just don't think that like streamers are a huge, you know, win for us. Right, so we need native array. What is it? Shader data. And this would be, we need int height, width and height. Shinkansen Zero was their only anomaly game. Oh, okay. Most of others are story. They try different horror game formats. I see. Okay. Yeah, I'm only familiar with the one. I know there's like they kind of have like a series and a big fan base, but that's the only one I was familiar with. Hold up, did you handle publishing side's legal rights on your own or publisher? So I had a publisher, and I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Like, so I had a publisher. I had a prior to having the publisher, I had my own agreements with Nintendo and publishing through them and Steam. And then with my publisher, we did Xbox and PlayStation as well. And then I had a lawyer for like, you know, handling the negotiation with my publisher. Does that make sense? Is that answering your question? I watched gaming videos and Border Collie videos, and a Feral North video popped up. Can't remember which one. I picked it up and didn't play for a while. That's interesting. Like I wonder if like if we were to run ads on like YouTube or something, I wonder if we'd be able to like target people who are into gaming and border collies. Because that would obviously be like a, you know, pretty pretty like, you know, nailing the target audience. But that's cool though. Yeah, I'm always curious how people find it. I think it's always really interesting. But yeah, thanks for playing the game too. Ended up playing it coincidentally on the first anniversary of my dad passing. Found it very fitting and cathartic. I'm glad to hear that. I'm always really worried when people start the game in like a situation like that, because like, you know, it's obviously very, people are, you know, people grieve in different ways and it's very personal and all that. So I'm always just worried, but I hope hopefully we kind of handled all that with respect and you know, yeah, I'm glad you found it at the right time. I only ever play games that will be good for all audiences of fun to play. Strictly only games with animals in it too, but that's because there aren't too many games I'm interested without animals. Fair enough. I try to play like a variety of games, but there's just so many. I definitely can't keep up with them all. There's a new cat game that looks really good. It's called Super Cat Simulator, but looks cute. Let's have a look. Super Cat Simulator. Super Cat Simulator. Unwind and indulge in the immersive world of Super Cat Simulator, an open-world cat game with lo-fi vibes. Discover secrets, collect charming items, and unlock new abilities. Add to your wishlist. Meow. Looks cool. I'm not super sure about the art style. It's got like a bit of a acid-y look to me. But yeah, cool. I've not done YouTube advertising before. I'm going to try advertising one of my Wolf Quest videos soon enough. Yeah, my publisher did. I've never done it myself though. It's something I want to experiment with. Not for like growing my YouTube channel, but for you know, promoting the game and stuff. Pronoth is the only game that ever made my eyes water. I don't know. I just don't cry much. Little Kitty Big City, super fun. Speaking of cat games, I've actually never played that. I've spoken to the developer a few times, but I've never played the game. I need to check it out sometime. What are we doing? I've completely lost control. Oh, here we are. Okay. So what we're doing is in our Falling Sands, we want to do a bilinear filter on the position that we're sampling. So rather than just grabbing that particle index, we want some height plus equals get height bilinear. So this is shader data. This is, actually we don't want to pass the grid pause in. This is the UV. Oh, no, hang on, sorry. We do need that. Let's give that a go. So that should smooth out our height sampling, and we shouldn't see those kind of like sudden drops. 1 month until Sword of the Sea comes out and I start streaming again. Ooh, I didn't realize that was so soon. I'm excited for that. I'm very excited for that. More that I have a weird instinct that I want to get legal rights before releasing, like somebody will steal, even if it's unknown kind of keeper behavior. I guess I made games to play myself, then publish. So you're talking about more like copywriting it or something like that. Okay, so that is good. And then let's lower that speed. A bit more than that. A bit more than that. And I think we want to do this every frame, not just when we're moving. So let's change that. So we're always aligning to the terrain, even if we're not moving, because the terrain can kind of change beneath our feet. Ah, little issue there. Thank you for the follow, Mosin Robin. Appreciate it. Same. That's been my deadline for this project, but continuing in the background, of course. Cool. So you're returning to streaming with Sword of the Sea, and that game, I haven't seen anything about it for a long time. Thank you for the follow, Hatham Witch. Copywriting trademarks is kind of new to me, that I started with LLC stuff staring me a little bit, that I will do wrong at something. I don't know anything about trademarks. We didn't do any of that for Feral North that I know of. It's a good question though. I'm curious if my publisher did anything that I'm not aware of there. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at that kind of stuff and you're kind of worried, definitely best to consult with a lawyer. And a VTuber model with the pet that I'm working on. Ah, cool. That all checks out then. Makes sense. So you're trying to get that pet done in time for this game coming out so you can start streaming. That all makes sense. Cool. I'm really excited for this. It looks like a nice kind of return to form, because I played the Pathless. I wasn't huge on it. This looks like it's going more in that kind of like Journey, Abzu kind of direction. I'm excited. It'll be fun. It's not so much trademarks you need to worry about, but patents. I think Joe's talking about, like, he wants to trademark his stuff. So not. I'm guessing. Actually, that's a good question, Joe. Are you worried about infringing on someone else's trademark, or you want to trademark your thing? Right. Okay. So we need to actually check if the previous job's complete. This is getting messy. It's getting messy. So if particle length is 0 or job is not complete. Oh, is complete. Then we return 0. I'm not sure if that's actually going to do what we want. Let's give it a go though. The smart version doesn't need to be done, but I have a temp set up while I work on this. Advances in for a later date. Oh, that's good. So you have a backup plan. Everything you create should be effectively automatically licensed under all rights reserved, meaning you have all rights about it, and only you can sell it. No one can steal your stuff. Yeah, I think, like, generally speaking, if someone actually straight up rips off your game, you don't need to have done anything. You just need to be able to prove that you did create it first. And then you're, like, inherently covered. My game's rights mostly. Trademark isn't something like logo. Like, no one can just, like, download your game, put it up on another store, sell it, and, you know, legally get away with that. You always have, like, legal recourse in that case. Yeah, I think with I don't really know. I think with trademarking it is more about logos and branding and stuff like that. Names, stuff like that. You wouldn't trademark, like, the actual game content. But I'm not a lawyer. I honestly don't know. The previously scheduled job writes to the shader data. You must call job handle complete before you can read it. But if I'm checking that it's not complete, why do I need to do that? So this happens one frame after we close the simulation every time. So one thing we could do. I'm already checking that. If the embroidery is not active, then we handle movement. So we need to give it 1 additional frame to run the job. Is that? Names, exact assets, etc. As long as you don't pull a Nintendo, you're safe. You can patent exact features, functionality. I don't care about game models, etc. More like I am brand rights and concept story characters, things like that. I mean, I think that's something that people are generally worried about when they're first starting, is that people are going to like rip off your stuff. But there are so many ideas and so many like, you know, concepts. Like I don't think anyone's really out there looking for indie games to rip off. I mean, famous last words, but I don't really think that's a huge concern. Isn't copyright and integrity just something automatically there when you made something? It's that way with art, but it's the same with games. No, that's my understanding, is that copyright is automatic. Trademark is something you have to actually go after, and that is more for like branding and names and stuff like that. And then yeah, like Hatham, which is saying patents are for like features and functionality. But I think like even if you do absolutely nothing, you create a game and someone comes along and copies major critical parts of that in a way that's like egregious and obvious, I think you pretty much always have a legal recourse. I don't think it's going to be like, well, you didn't trademark it, so you're screwed. I don't think that that's a thing. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so if it is something you're worried about, then definitely talk to someone. Okay, so here's the problem. So we're trying to sample, we're trying to read from the shader data array, which is manipulated by a job, but the job hasn't had complete called yet because you don't call complete until the start of the frame. So if we're running this, the frame after we've re-enabled this simulation, then that hasn't been called yet. And so we can't read from it. So this is no good. Which is better for gaming, a PC or a laptop? Generally, a PC is going to have more room for higher quality components. But laptop obviously has the benefit of being able to move around. You can't really stop people from making a similar game to yours, and you can't trademark concepts. Yeah, and like I think it's just something, unless you're like wildly successful, like Thronefall, for example. There's a mobile game right now that looks a lot like Thronefall. I get ads for it like all the time. Unless you're like that level of success, I don't think anyone's looking to copy indie games. And if you're that level of success anyways, like I'm sure it's still frustrating, but like, you know, I'd rather be in that position anyway, like to have that success in the first place. Why I worry about trademark is, you know, when you're about to promote on YouTube, etc., I want to keep title same more than working title, or maybe some crossover. I mean, it's everyone puts the title of their game out publicly before release. People aren't out there copying games titles. It's not really something to worry about. Like how there's so many Vampire Survivor games at the moment. Yeah. But it's like I would still love to be the creator of Vampire Survivor's shoes, right? Like they still were wildly successful, and that only happens if your game is wildly successful. Nintendo is suing Pal World just for having object that catches a creature. The ball was patented, the Pokeball. So is using monsters as mounts. I mean, that's a whole other discussion of like whether you should even be able to patent those things. Like the famous example that always comes up is Shadow of Mordor, and they created that Nemesis system, patented it, and then never did anything with it again. And so now no one can make games with that kind of mechanic. That's frustrating. But I mean, yeah, there is a general sense of like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't worry about it, Joe, is basically what I'm saying. Just don't sue me if someone steals your game idea. But like that's just not a thing that really happens. Okay, I think what we want to do, this is kind of gross, but I can't think of a better way to go about this. So last Oh, actually, you know what? We already have access to the last simulation frame. So here's what we're going to do. Public int last simulation frame. So we already have this concept. What's going on here? We already have this concept here. So let's use this, and then we can compare that in our player controller to make sure that we actually have an up-to-date simulation. So in our player controller, sorry, in our falling sand, so here, or this dot last simulation frame is less than 2. So we need, actually I think just less than 1. We need at least 1 frame to update the simulation. I never understood copyright. Me too, bro. It's weird. Yeah. Genuinely, Joe, like if it is something you're worried about, so my thoughts on this are you probably don't need to be worried about this, but if you genuinely are, don't take some random guy on YouTube's advice. Definitely talk to a lawyer. Adam Witch, making a game dangerously close to another game from Nintendo. If you're gonna copy, I mean, we all do, like we all take inspiration from things or whatever. If you're gonna do it, Nintendo's probably the one scary one. Because they are very litigious. I think there's something wrong in our simulation too. Hang on. So if I place sand or soil, and I put some water on top, it's going like instantly. Why is that? Oh, this is... That shouldn't have been updated. There's a fake of Raft on Steam called Survive on Raft. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anytime a game is super successful, there are going to be a lot of clones that come after it. And it's unfortunate, but you have to be really successful to be in that position anyways. So like as frustrating as I'm sure that is, it's still kind of a good position to be in. So we're still getting this error. And I'm actually going to try changing this height alignment to a lerp so that it's more extreme the further we are from the target position. Okay, so this frame we re-enable. If we re-enable the falling sand simulation, if we re-enable that, we schedule a new job. Hang on. What if we just did this? Why do you keep running out of the water? Because we're working on like the height map blending for our character controller to make sure that they actually align to the height of the world. Oops. So that didn't fix the error. We also need, on this view, we need to see where our player character is. So the first frame after closing that, we always get this error. But yeah, we are aligning ourselves to the terrain. Just a little bit too slow. And that's too fast. Really hungry, I could do with a chocolate orange cookie right now. Shame. Chocolate orange is terrible. As long as you don't infringe on any patents, I should be fine. I reckon you're right, Hat Ham. As long as you don't infringe any patents, and as long as you don't completely copy one of their characters, you should be fine. Aaron, the mechanic looks really nice. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. We want milk rivers with cookie dough soil. Might be a little bit out of character for our game here. Let's give that a go. Can there be a cow bead or button as the player character on the map? I don't know why I'm obsessed with the idea of buttons. Yeah, I think exactly. Yeah. So one thing we had talked about before was patches. So we've talked about like having a patch for like the barn that you could like place, and that's where your barn would be, and maybe that's where you spawn or something like that. So either like patches or buttons, one of the two. But yeah, something crafty like that for sure. No, come on. Found solution, guys. Sue Nintendo. Sue them first. So why do I always get one error here? Just on the first frame after. But it's not even the first frame, actually. That time it was the second frame. And then if I just shift it to 4 frames, I think it's still going to happen. So maybe this is a clue that I'm not thinking about this the right way. Oh, good shout, Minxie. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I'll add a few. For those who don't know, this game jam is for charity. We're raising money for Games for the Wains, which is a campaign for the Glasgow Children's Hospital. And so every time I have a error, whether it's like a compile error or a runtime error, I'm donating £2 to the campaign. And if you're keen and feeling flush, it'd be amazing if you could help support. I'll leave the link there, but no pressure. Okay, 4 frames was magically the solution. That makes no sense. We should only need 1 frame. But I'm just gonna leave it to do for that, because we are running out of time for this game jam, if I'm honest. Why 4? Do you have Planet Zoo? No, I don't. I'm familiar with the game, but no, I've never played it. Cool, so we go into the water a little bit. We can't go through it. We still need to work on this blending. And I think what we maybe want to actually do is do the same bilinear filter in the height sampling in the shader. So let's do this. Just to make sure that our height in the shader and in the kind of CPU side are lining up. And so these are all floats, floats, floats. And then we can do particle.height. Grid positive particle index.height. Yep. Cool. Thank you for the follow, DB9 Dreamer. Twitch link is what is it? Twitch.tv. Twitch.tv/FairwellNorth. I'll put it in the chat there. Planet Zoo is amazing. Yeah, I've heard it's really good. It looks really cool, but yeah, I've never had a chance to check it out. I very rarely, like, I don't get a lot of time to play games now, and I've been playing Resident Evil 4 Remake for like months. Just like on one playthrough, it's just taking me months to get through it, because I just don't really get a lot of time to play games anymore. Get height bilinear, and then we pass in check pause and UV. So that should smooth out the height a little bit, and it should hopefully align a little bit better with what we have on the C# side. Yep, let's give that a go. Come on. It's still a little, I think it's just because of the poly count of the plane. Still a little bit sharp, so we'll have to figure that out. We can increase the poly count, but we're already very high on that. Planet Zoo is both stressful and restful. Let's subdivide this one more time. We're already at 16,000 verts. Ooh, yeah, 66. We're not going that far. We're going to keep it 16. Okay, let's just try it. We'll try it and see what happens. Doesn't really help, actually. So it gets rid of that theory. Some height is get height by linear, plus count, divided by count. That's all good. Oh, wait. So we're doing 4 on the smoothing, and then what are we doing here? We're doing 5. Okay, let's try the same. I'm gonna try Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's $1. What are the Jurassic World games? Those are like you're running a zoo, is that right? Like you're running the park? What is it called? Jurassic World Evolution? Oh, cool. So it's like you're actually running the park. That's neat. Someone helped with the first part of the math, and I was only missing a single node. Ooh, nice. Glad you got that sorted. Do you get more views on Twitch or on YouTube? Definitely YouTube. Although like the live streaming numbers have been like pretty abysmal, if I'm completely honest with you guys. It's been far worse than I was expecting. But I mean, I'm just glad to have you guys hanging out. But the view counts have been pretty bad. But I have an audience on YouTube, and I don't have an audience on Twitch, so it makes sense that the YouTube numbers are the better ones. I've been wondering, I love you Twitch folks, but I've been wondering if I should consolidate and just stream on YouTube so that there's one audience in one place, and you know, algorithmically that, you know, what's going to work out a little bit better, rather than kind of splitting it and rather than splitting it, having 2 small streams. You could have it in one place and have one medium-sized stream. But I know some people really love Twitch, so I don't want to, you know, lose you guys. So for the Twitch folks, question for the Twitch folks, if I were to only stream on YouTube, would you still tune in, or are you Twitch only? Yeah, we're still getting a little bit of clipping. I think we can fix that just in the smoothing. And also it's a game jam. I'm not too worried about it. Boo. That'd probably be better for you. I wouldn't mind personally. Okay, good to know. I watch your long form stuff on YouTube, but no, Twitch only for streams. Okay, fair enough. Doesn't really matter for me. Less delay probably. I don't know if that's true. Something's causing a delay, and I think it's on my end. I don't think it's Twitch. I'm just gonna open up the YouTube stream again. So if I move, yeah, there's a pretty substantial delay. I think it's the same. I think it's on my end. I don't think it's Twitch or YouTube. DB9, out of curiosity, and I'm not trying to argue you away from Twitch, but why do you prefer Twitch for streaming? Is it just because they have like, you know, better tools for like emotes and stuff like that, or? I also feel like this delay is getting longer. I don't know how that's possible. Like maybe you guys are watching me at like 99% speed somehow, because like I feel like the delay gets longer and longer the longer the stream runs. It's the emotes. Easier to support creators. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Oh, we don't want that. DB9, thank you for the bits. See? I like this. I like your way of proving that. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're able to walk out far more into the water than I want to be able to. So let's double check the logic on that. Easier to clip as well when you fuck up. Good point. Okay, movement vector, world space, new position is going to be current position plus that movement vector. Get the particle at that position. So what if we did... I mean, this is already looking ahead quite a bit. I'm surprised we're able to get this far. Is this all sand behind me? Oh, it is. Ah. Okay, well that's fair enough. So we can walk a little bit into the water. I don't think that's the end of the world. We just can't cross it. So that's, water is kind of like our barrier. Cool. Yeah, so I think tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to start on a little coup shepherd character. I was talking about this earlier on, but I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this. So trying to figure out what the actual gameplay is. So what if we have sheep that are kind of scattered throughout the map? Your job is to kind of go find them, gather them up. When you find them, they follow you around, so you're kind of like a shepherd. And you, to tie everything together, the sheep eat berries that are randomly spawned throughout the environment. And so if they eat a blueberry, they grow blue fur, and you can harvest that fur into thread. And so if I harvested a blue sheep, I would have a spool of blue thread, and I could place my blue thread until it runs out. And then I need to basically like get my sheep to eat the right berries to grow the colors that I want to harvest, to create thread, to build the environment, to then explore and find more sheep. You can tell that that pitch is kind of rough. This is my second time explaining it out loud, but does that make sense? And what do you guys think about that? I feel like that gives us a good game loop. Go find sheep, harvest them, get them, or sorry, go find sheep, get them to eat berries, harvest them, or shear them, not harvest them, shear them, build more of your map, explore more. And then we need to work on our procedural generation so that trees and rocks and stuff are actually spawning. They're not just like placed here like they are currently. We'll add birds and fish and whatnot. But yeah, how does that sound? The only thing I think I'm just going to talk through this as I wait for the delay to kick in. The only thing that kind of worries me about that is like, why would you ever want to place water? Aside from like just for the vibes of like having a cool little water area. Why would you ever want to place water? Or why would you ever want to place rock? Like you'd be kind of incentivized to just always place grass. So yeah, that's one thing. So we need some incentives or some like punishments that force you to use water. I'm not sure. We need to figure that out. Because I think it'd be cool if you have to like manage your water. Right? So like if you get water, it's a bit of a punishment, but you have to like manage it somehow. So you have to create like lakes and stuff that are out of the way, or I don't know. How would you enter the barn if it's in water? Yeah, good question. And same thing right now where like if I where have my spools gone? Let's do this again. If I spawn a bunch of water underneath me right now, I'm like stuck. So we have to figure that out as well. So yeah, still a lot of questions in this whole game design. So like right now I can do this. Now I'm in water and I'm stuck. I can't move, right? So I would need to somehow get soil to get myself out of it. Not sure. Are you getting the build out today? Yes, we'll do that right now, actually. Let's do that while we chat. Oh, don't build and run. Don't build and run. I like it. A bit nitpicky. The berries are the only thing I'm iffy on. A dye puddle would be cuter to me and make more sense, but nitpicky. Dye would make more sense than berries, but I feel like why would there be dye in the environment, you know? Because with berries, I guess it's also incentivizing you to have grass, because grassy areas would have like berry bushes. So like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe water makes the grass more potent. Oh, that's actually a good point. You can't have grass without water, so you can only get soil thread right now. And then you need water to turn that soil into grass to then grow berry trees or berry bushes. So that makes sense. You do need water. Yeah, you just need to be cautious and manage it, I guess. Maybe different colored sheep near bigger bodies of water or higher up. Maybe you start on a dirt platform and you can't water yourself. You like the berries. Maybe you need a certain percentage of water in order for your grass to grow, or be better grass with no water. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So you can't have grass without water. So we now have a purpose for water. That makes sense. Water could remove the dye. I think I'm on Team Berry. Just because I think it'd be cute to have the sheep going and like imagine you have a trail of sheep coming behind you, and rather than you feeding them the berries, they just go eat berries like at random. So you kind of like, you're like, oh, I don't want them to eat the blueberry, right? Because I don't want water or whatever. So you have to like kind of guide them away from those berries and stuff. I guess dye, you could do the same thing with dye. That's fair. I just think berries are cuter. But yeah, I think it'll be cool. So we'll have our little coup farmer, a little coup shepherd. We'll have cute little sheep running around. I think it's gonna work. All right, guys, I'm gonna let this run in the background because it's probably gonna take like 20 minutes or so. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Really appreciate it. And I will post a message on the Discord in like half an hour or so when the build is up. And you guys can check it out if you want. So as a reminder, because there's still no tutorial, you can press tab to go back and forth between the embroidery mode and the exploration mode. And these objects are all just statically placed right now, so just ignore those. They walk through a berry bush and get dyed from it rather than eating the berries. Ah, that's smart. Yeah, they're just getting like dirty. Like they just run through the berries and they get all covered in berry juice. I like that. Banksy, that's a good idea. You do know blueberries are purple. That's fair, but we're also going to have like brown berries, and you know, the color is not so important. Oh, the build finished. Okay, I can get this up now. Oh, by the way, how do you swap into the 3D build? You just press tab. We'll need to do a tutorial at some point, but for now, yeah, just press tab. Is there only going to be rocks, water, and dirt spools at the moment? At the moment, yeah, but I think it might be cool to introduce a few more, like maybe fire, because fire and water could create steam, and we could have fire kind of burn down crops and stuff, so that would be another kind of like element that you want to manage more or something. I don't know. But yeah, we need some more thread ideas. So if you guys have those, I'm all ears. So let's just get this up. Sorry guys, I say bye and then there's like a 30-second delay and then something comes up, and then we keep chatting. So let me just get this up and then we'll end the stream. Hit a game. Is there a point me sending you the app data if the potato crashes whilst playing? You may as well. I can't guarantee that we're gonna keep fixing issues with that machine, just because it is a game jam, and like, you know, as long as it works on the majority of people's computers, I'm happy. But yeah, send it to me at least, and if it's a quick thing, I'll try and fix it. Yep, I think that's it. So here's the link if anyone wants to check it out. And yep, I will once again try and reduce the lag and fix them. I think the mic issue was fixed, right? So we're good on that one, but I need to figure out the lag. I'll try some more stuff before the next stream. But anyways, I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. I do need to take this weekend off, and I'll be back on Wednesday, but hopefully we'll have one more stream tomorrow. So either tomorrow or Wednesday, but you'll see the event scheduled on YouTube and the Discord alerts and all that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.